Happy week 9, everyone. I hope you either have had or are having a really excellent fall break. And I'm looking forward to seeing you this week in Writing 210 to talk about schemes. So, here specifically is what is on the agenda for this week. We are first and foremost going to do an in-class workshop of Style Experiment 2. And so instructions for how and when to submit your second style experiment are posted in the week 8 folder, but be sure to do that before class on Wednesday. And then we'll also be talking about schemes, which is sort of a partner to tropes that we talked about last week. And we'll be exploring schemes in Hemingway's short story, Hills Like White Elephants. So for class on Wednesday, I would like you to be sure to complete style experiment number 2. You'll need to submit it to Blackboard and then also submit it to your workshop group on the Google Drive folder. You'll be in the same workshops, but as I said, we'll be doing in-class workshops rather than asynchronous. I'm just having you add them to the Google folder so it's easy to access them during class. I'd also like you to read Performing Prose, Chapter 7, which is all about schemes, and also review Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants. So specifically, key concept for this week is schemes. And when we're talking about schemes, we're talking about another category under the large umbrella of language choices. So last week we talked about diction and tropes, and this week we're focused on schemes, which is another element or another kind of language choice that writers can make in order to adapt their style. So when we talk, if you'll remember from last week, tropes were a figure of speech that turns the meaning of a word from its conventional sense to a new meaning. So things like onomatopoeia or synecdoche or those types of terms take a term and change what it means or change how it's used in the sentence to add a new meaning or add new insight to the idea that the writer is trying to convey. A scheme takes that same idea of a turn, but instead it focuses on the sentence itself. And so a scheme focuses on patterns of words or arrangement of words within and across sentences. So it's really focusing on the shape of sentences. So a trope is playing with word meaning, whereas scheme is playing with word order. So that's kind of a way to differentiate between the two categories of language choices that we're talking about. More specifically, schemes work rhetorically. So they help readers or they help a writer connect with their readers by signaling the level of formality. We talked about that last week. In terms of diction. So is it high? Is it middle? Is it low in terms of its formality? It can control the emotional intensity of the prose. It can showcase the writer's wit and skill. And it can also enlist readers into the collaborative relationship because it makes us as readers anticipate or complete words or sentence patterns. So, for example, one of the common schemes that we have is the scheme of repetition. And so something like the Latin phrase veni vidi vici, which in English means I came, I saw, I conquered. It creates a rhythm, a pattern, and because we're familiar with that rhythm and pattern, we kind of anticipate what comes next. And so that's one of the powerful ways that schemes can pull readers into a text and kind of help them collaborate with the writer who is creating the text. So there are, I think there are 4, I can't remember exactly what my slide shows, but there are different kind of categories of schemes that we'll talk about this week. There are schemes of balance that include parallelism and isocolon. There are schemes of omission, like ellipses, which is not referring to the 3-dot punctuation. It's an actual scheme of words and word order. Asyndeton and polysyndeton. Then we've got schemes of unusual word order, like anastrophe and parenthesis. Again, not the punctuation, but similar to it. And then finally, schemes of repetition, like anaphora, like the Veni Vidi Vici that I talked about before. So we'll spend some time this week talking about these terms, defining these terms in our style glossaries along with tropes. And as you read for class, for this week, I'd like you to consider a couple of questions. So as you read Performing Prose, think about if there were any schemes that you read about that seemed particularly interesting to you that you wanted to try. Or likewise, you could see, or you could think about if there are any schemes that you already use that are kind of part of your natural style repertoire already. Then, as you're reading Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants, you know the drill. What do you notice about Hemingway's style? How is it similar or different to other writers that we've read? What jumps out at you? And specifically, do you see any schemes or tropes in Hemingway's work that we could talk about and kind of add some context to our discussion of these ideas? So that is the plan for this week. I hope, as I said, I hope that you have a great or you had a great weekend, that your week is starting well. I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday and reading your style experiments too. And you know the drill. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Bye, everyone.